G'day, you're listening to the Virtual Staff Room, and this is episode 44, A World of Difference. Hi, my name's Chris Betcher. Thanks for joining us on the Virtual Staff Room. Well, it's good to be back. How many times have I said that on this podcast? Where I have these long sabbaticals where we don't record anything and then suddenly we're back. So we are in this case. And thanks to Michael Graffin. Michael Graffin is a listener of the Virtual Staff Room, and Michael wrote to me the other day and said, "Are you going to do any more episodes or what?" And I thought, good idea. Got any suggestions? And he did. So Michael is the guest on this show. And Michael dragged in a friend of his, Theresa Allen, who teaches in the States, in Chicago, or just outside Chicago. And then I threw it open on Twitter and said, we're talking about this topic of global collaboration, global classrooms. Does anyone want to join? And couldn't have had anyone better put their hand up than Lisa Parisi from New York, from Long Island, who has done tons of this stuff. And lovely lady. I got to meet Lisa last year when I was in ISTE, when her and Brian Crosby and I and Sharon Peters all went out for lunch, which was lovely. Anyway, enough reminiscing. So what we're talking about in this episode is global collaboration and this whole idea of working in a global classroom. Michael, I think, has a really interesting story to tell. He's only been teaching for a couple of years and has never had his own class. He's a relief teacher, or a substitute teacher, as you would say in the States. And Michael kind of got this whole global classroom project thing running, thanks to his personal learning network and connections he'd been making, and he just decided to make it happen. So that's a part of what we'll talk about, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I think just talks about, like usual, we start talking about technology, we end up talking about great teaching. So there's some really interesting ideas in here. I hope you find them useful. Here we go, episode 44. Thanks for listening. Thank you all for joining us. This is great today. We're talking about the idea of working in a global classroom, and we're joined with three wonderful educators from different parts of the world today. So over in Western Australia, here in Australia, we've got Michael Graffin. G'day, Michael.
Hello, Chris.
How's things in the West?
Yeah, pretty good. Hot here today.
Yeah? That's good. Always hot there. Wait for the doctor to come through in the afternoon.
I can't wait.
And over on the other side of the pond, we have Theresa Allen. Hi, Theresa, in Chicago.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for joining us.
Great to be invited.
And just a little bit further over the other side there is Lisa Parisi in New York, Long Island to be exact. G'day, Lisa.
Good day. Oh, wait, I didn't say that right. Good day.
Yeah, it's kind of a good day, not a good day. It's all in the intonation. So thanks all three of you for joining us. This is great. We're going to talk about working in a global classroom. This podcast idea actually came from Michael, who emailed me the other day and said, can we do a podcast about global collaboration and the global classroom project and some different things he was involved in. And so Theresa and Michael have been working together on this stuff. And Lisa responded to a tweet that I put out just asking if anyone else would like to join us. And, of course, Lisa has done tons of global collaboration projects as well. In fact, Lisa, I was just stunned when you threw all the show notes into the Google Doc there, just how much stuff you've been doing and winning awards for it and all sorts of things. So we'll be hearing all about that.
No, I was
incredible.
very excited to see all those links. I'm going to be busy after this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Right.
Absolutely. It speaks to the power of wikispaces.com, I think.
Yes.
Oh, I love wikis.
So just before we get started, just get you guys to just introduce yourself and just tell people just quickly who you are and what you do, what you teach and all that sort of stuff. So, Michael, we might start with you.
Alrighty. I'm a third-year relief teacher in Perth, Western Australia. The last probably 9 months or so, I've been heavily involved in global collaboration projects, and ironically enough, found myself becoming the project coordinator for the Global Classroom project earlier this year.
Cool. And you're a relief teacher, did you say?
Yep.
So you don't have your own class all the time?
Sadly, no.
Wow.
What is a relief teacher?
First, substitute.
Substitute, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, you're doing this as a substitute teacher?
That's
Amazing.
pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first global classroom project.
All care, no
was
responsibility.
born
I
in
love it.
He's got the most in his hands. That's
and all
why
the
he's.
oh, there's a lot of fun that goes on in relief teaching.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, so
Theresa,
Yes.
um,
Go ahead.
no, tell us what you do.
I'm a technology coordinator and teacher for an elementary Catholic school in Joliet, Illinois, which is south of Chicago. I've been teaching there for 12 years as a technology teacher, and just recently, the past 2 years, have been getting involved in global projects, and met Michael through the Global Classroom project, I think in the summer, as it was over, and I was interested in doing some projects in there, and we just kind of started talking some more, and he saw the things that I was involved in with other global projects, and he's like, "Hey, let's get together with this project." So,
Fantastic.
hmm
Beautiful. Well done. And Lisa.
Okay. I am a classroom teacher in New York. I've been teaching for over 25 years. And right now I'm teaching fourth grade. I did fifth for a while, fourth. I've taught everything. But right now I'm doing fourth grade. And the first global project I ever did was someone on your side of the pond, so they say.
Anyone
the
we
first,
know?
it was I don't know. Is it that small little area? No, she's actually from New Zealand. But I did a project with Alana King.
Oh, I know Alana very well.
I know Alana.
I've never met her in person, but we used to talk on Skype every morning, and we haven't in a while. But the first global project I ever did was a total accident. I mean, it was not planned at all. It came right, and we won an award for it, and it came right out of a question that my students had in class that I needed answered about the Southern Hemisphere. And so I just sort of put it out there asking, and
Is this the one about flushing the toilet?
it is.
I've heard that story.
That was the question. Yeah, we were talking about the Southern Hemisphere and the differences between the Northern and the Southern Hemisphere. And one of my kids said, I heard the toilet flushes in the opposite direction. And I said, I don't know if that's true. And I had just started in, I'm a webcaster at EdTech Talk. And I had just started working at EdTech Talk. And Chrissy Hellier is another webcaster there. And so I knew she was from the Southern Hemisphere, so I Skyped her and said, is it true? And she sent us a video of her flushing the toilet. But we really couldn't see. And then all these other questions started coming out, so I just sort of put it out there on Twitter that, you know, we were interested in comparing our hemisphere to the Southern Hemisphere. Is there anyone available? And Alana said, we have 6 weeks left of school. We'd love to do it with you. And
Brilliant.
And that was my very first global project. It was so off the cuff and so
Sometimes they happen that way.
Yeah.
You just start talking, you're like, oh, let's do this. Yeah.
And that's actually the thing. It doesn't have to be complicated. I mean, I've done ones with kids as simple as, you know, you go out and take a photograph of the sky where you are, and everyone posts their photos to a blog or a wiki or something and compares what the sky looks like in different parts of the world, or looks at, you know, a clock in your local community. We've done all sorts of really simple stuff like that, and it doesn't have to be difficult, does it?
No.
No,
The one disappointment about it was that it was totally asynchronous.
Yeah.
Because of the time difference.
Yeah.
So our students, while they learned a lot about each other through the wiki, they never actually connected. And I've done projects like that, and I've done projects where we have partners in other classes, and we talk with our partners daily, and it's very different.
Yeah, it is. The time zones are difficult to work around sometimes.
Yeah.
I actually had a group of kids from Sweden that every Friday night they would talk to my kids during the school hours for 2-3 months. So that was fun. They worked on their English as well as just learning about America. They were just thrilled. But we had a project that we were doing at the same time, but the project kind of got put aside and the talking continued. But that's okay.
That's the best part.
It's that connection and that connectivity and communication. Those are very vital.
Well, I guess let's just take a back step for a second. And for people who are listening to this podcast who maybe have never done a global project, do you guys just want to sort of define it for us and give us an idea about what that actually means when you say do a global project together? Anyone can jump in on that.
Come on, Theresa, you're more experienced with this.
Well, I would say a global project, when you say global, it has to be out of your classroom.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be across the ocean. It could be in another city. It could be another school. It could be another classroom, really. But ultimately, you want to have some kind of common theme something you want to discover, something you want to learn about, in some kind of commonality with each other. So that's what I would say just the basic definition of a global project is.
Seems to me they work really well when you have some sort of thematic approach where there's obviously something in common, but there's a lot that's different, and it's in discovering the differences that actually a lot of the value comes from.
Exactly. So you have this common curiosity maybe.
Yep.
And then you just take that and go with it.
Definitely. I think, Lisa, you were going to jump in there?
Yeah, one of the, it's interesting listening to this because one of the things that I find more and more is that my most successful global projects are not global projects where we're comparing each other, but where we're doing curriculum together.
Okay. Yep.
But it usually, that relationship usually stems from a comparison first.
So give us an example of what you mean by that.
Well, my favorite partner is Brian Crosby.
Yep.
In fact, I'll just
Good
boast.
guy.
I'll boast that our published book is finally ready for pre-orders.
Oh, well, make sure you put that in the show notes.
We wrote a book about blogging in the classroom.
That'll be good.
And the way that we met was through blogging. Through his class was blogging, my class was blogging, and our kids started talking to each other about the differences in their blogs.
Right.
So it started with this comparison, and then we actually set up a blog assignment so that they could compare more and more with each other. And it got to a point where we then did a writing project together. Last year we did a science project together where I was actually I was in a co-teaching environment last year, which means I had another teacher in the room, and Brian didn't. So while the kids were doing science, they were working in groups, and sometimes, they needed like small instruction. So I would do the small instruction with both classes. So while the majority of the students were working, my class with my co-teacher, his class with him, I had like this small group going on through Skype, and I'm teaching, children across the country and my students about science.
That's very cool. I like that.
And yeah, it was amazing, but it wasn't about let's compare. It was, we're all doing energy. We're learning about energy, and so let's do it together.
Together. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was incredibly powerful. The other thing that is very powerful with something like that, my students come from a very upper middle class area. Their education is excellent. They all go to college. Their parents are mostly college educated, a lot of doctors. And Brian teaches in an area with migrant workers that, and at any day he's going to lose children, get more children. So the education is very, very different for these two groups. So it was very interesting to have my students have to teach his students, and his students learn from mine. And my students had to get some understanding of, okay, you can't, be shocked that they don't know what the word genre means when you're talking about different genres of writing. How about you teach them instead what it means, instead of just being shocked that they don't know it?
Yeah.
And it did teach them some tolerance and understanding even about migrant workers.
That's interesting, yeah, because it's that wouldn't obviously happen too easily in a real physical classroom, because you do tend to get, I imagine, a fair bit of class homogeneity, if that's a word. Where you get people in the same group who are more or less in the same social SES.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Michael, I'm still intrigued by this idea that you do relief, or what's the word you use in the States? Substitute.
Relief or substitute. Yeah.
And you still manage to do this stuff. How do you manage to make that work?
The first global classroom project was actually done when I was on a 4-week relief placement.
Right, okay.
Which gave me the opportunity to have the students for longer than a day. I
imagine that would help a lot.
It does. You'd be amazed. It's one of the greatest frustrations I have, is that I don't get to teach.
Yeah.
More tend to babysit. So I had them for 4 weeks, and I was in a very multicultural school. The kids in my class spoke about 9 to 10 different languages at home. And we were doing a culture comparison with a couple of classes around the world, New Zealand, Romania, Guatemala, and America. And ironically, this all started with one tweet. I knew I was going to have the class for a couple of weeks, and sitting on the computer late at night, and I connected with a lady named Deb Fraser, a grade 1 teacher in Ohio. She was looking to work with people on a culture project with her grade 1 kids. So my students were contributing to a voice thread. We created blogs to posters, because not everyone was particularly keen on contributing to the voice thread. But even though that one only ran for 4 weeks, it was the relationship we started to form with the teachers, which meant that we could create Global Classroom 2011-12. The ironic thing that we found with 2011-12 was that Deb wanted someone from a teacher or class from 6 continents. The only way I knew to find people like that was to tweet it. So when we had about 15, then we had 20 teachers, and then we had 30. But the time we got to 50, we realised that we might actually have to do something a little bit different.
So this just grew from a kind of just a really organic, you talking to a few people, into something that was kind of like almost an organised project.
Well, you tweeted it out, didn't you, Michael?
Yeah, I had to take responsibility for that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I didn't realise that. I knew you were involved with this thing called the Global Classroom Project, and you can tell me a little bit more about that. But I didn't realise you kind of instigated the whole dealio.
It's a good.
Yeah. The original idea comes from Deb Fraser. The idea for building it into what it's become was born out of reality that we've had 40 teachers at one point, and we just couldn't do one project. So I said, I'll actually have to sit down and think this through.
Yeah.
And that's what's become. We put out a Google survey, and we just asked people, how do you want to collaborate? What do you want to do? And that's how we found people like Theresa, Tina Smith, another flat classroom teacher. There's quite a range of global collaboration experts who are contributing their ideas.
Okay.
And that's basically
This is what I
where
love
this whole
about
thing
the
come
internet
from.
so much, Michael, is that it completely democratizes. You're a teacher who's been teaching for 3 years. You don't even have your own class as such.
Just over 2 years. Yeah.
And here you are, kind of, rounding up people together for this global collaboration thing. And it wasn't because the education board gave you the go ahead, or someone approved it, or you do special training. It's just, it was a good idea. I think I'll do it, and it happens. I love that about the
That's
internet.
exactly. Yeah, it couldn't have done it without Twitter.
Wow.
There's the Twitter
I think
PLN.
I think that's a really important point to make, because one of the biggest questions I get when I have, like when I'm doing projects and I'm Skyping somebody in from Africa on Tuesday for a global project that I got caught up in from someone in China. I mean, this is, and it's not, I know it sounds like amazing, and I guess it is, but it's so like common what we do in the classroom. And everyone's always like, well, how do you know all these people?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
once
have
you
to
start,
put yourself out there. You have to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
and then once you start, I don't know if this has happened with you. It just grows. It blows up, basically. I mean, I've only been doing this for, last year was my first, last September was my first really, global kind of projects that I was doing, and amazing that you connect with one person, then there's several others that they are friends with. Hey, join us, and I mean, it's just great. I love it.
As a teacher,
I think I found Tina through you.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, as a teacher, I guess I was an early adopter on some of this stuff, because we were doing this back in the sort of late 90s. It felt to me like once you've done this kind of work, once you've done global collaboration, and you realise that there really aren't the sort of boundaries that you imagine in education, and you can connect kids in really interesting ways and work on projects that are kind of bending the rules of the curriculum almost a little bit.
Well, that's what I was doing.
But once you do that, you never look at education the same way again. You never get that genie back in the bottle. I could never... I mean, I walk into classrooms where people have never done this stuff, and they're teaching in very traditional kind of ways that aren't project-based, even in the classroom, let alone, across classrooms. And I just think, I could never go back to that again. Do you guys feel that?
Oh, definitely. I was reliefing in a Catholic school in my local area, and I walked into a class and they're studying worksheets on countries around the world, and I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God, I couldn't do it.
Looking at these worksheets going, what the hell is that?
I can't look at education, I can't look at teaching in the same way anymore.
That's so fascinating.
If I'm going to be studying ancient civilizations, I've got to contact in Greece, so you can talk to kids in Greece about current Greece as well as ancient Greece. You just can't teach them the same way anymore.
Yeah.
And you just look at it and you think, if I find this boring, what are the students thinking?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Lisa, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but I went to one of your sessions at ISTE, the one you did on Understanding by Design.
Yes.
And it was plainly obvious to me that you and Brian are really excellent teachers. I mean, you understand the process of teaching, the pedagogy behind it. You obviously love kids. I'm just wondering, I mean, do you feel a lot of that great teacherness, if I can put it on you, has come from this sort of experience that you've built around this stuff? Or is it the other way around for you?
I think that we do what we do because we care so much.
Okay.
I don't think... I think if I wasn't, such a great teacher, okay, I'll take that. But if I wasn't such a good teacher, and if I didn't care so much about bringing, about just bringing excitement to the classroom, I would
Right.
not be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to be willing to try. It's scary when you first start.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
blogging for me was very scary because we had some negative effects with blogging outside of our school, but and so we didn't want to blog.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine not blogging now.
No. That's something that I still try to overcome when I talk to other people. They're like, but I don't want to put myself out there, but I don't want to go on Twitter. Or they'll put like a fake name on or something. I mean, I'm actually L Parisi on Twitter because when I first went on in 2007, I wasn't sure I wanted people to know that I was a woman.
That's interesting.
And so I'm L Parisi instead of Lisa Parisi. Everywhere else I'm Lisa Parisi, and it drives me crazy now that in Twitter I'm L Parisi, but people know who I am, so it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
But even then, even though I was nervous, I knew I wasn't going to put something like, elementary teacher or something like that. I had made a decision that I was putting myself out there. And that's very hard for some people, because we hear all these horror stories about what goes on out there. And I have met people in person that I met online. I have roomed with people that I didn't know till I walked into the room. And, I do things like that, I think that this is the world now. And, some of my best friends are online. I mean, Alana, I've never met her in person, ever. And yet we would have the most in-depth private conversations you could imagine. And I never even met her.
Kim Cofino and her husband Alex were in Australia recently, and I'm sure, most of you probably know Kim.
Yep.
Know of Kim. And, she was in Australia, and I said we should catch up, and she ended up staying here New Year's Eve because it was convenient. And we're sitting around the table, and she goes, I hope you guys really don't mind that, that we've come to stay. I feel bad imposing. And I went, you know what, this is the whole point to me of making contacts and friendships with people online, is so that one day you can actually turn that into a real contact and a real friendship in the flesh. I think that's a wonderful byproduct of this. And I know a lot of people look at that really strangely and go, wow, you had like this internet stranger in your house.
Right.
But it's not like that. It's like these are just real friends that you've never met yet almost.
Right. Yeah, I can agree completely. I've been able to meet about 3 people who I originally met online. I was in the country for the last couple of days, actually with 2 people of my PLN, Joe Hart and Phil Hart. And I found them through a connection who was in Sri Lanka at the time, in English, but in Sri Lanka, Clive Sir. And the friendship we formed, it was about the 3rd time I've been up at their place up in the country. I met a guy who flew in from South Australia. We're hoping to present at the Computers and Education Conference in Perth later in the year. It's these connections that were originally made online, but they translate into real-world friendships. Yeah, totally and it does really does have an impact on you personally as well as professionally.
I think so too.
And I think that is probably the most important thing that people need to understand about global projects, that they only happen if you are making connections, because who else would you do? I mean, the only reason I knew to call Chrissy to ask about which way the toilet, water flushes down, was because I had put myself out there and met her. Yep. And there are things that happen, I have, like the people from Brain Pop are coming to my classroom to visit me next week. I'm so excited about this. My kids are dying. They're so excited. And it's all because I have met the person who is like the PR person for Brain Pop, and we talk online. I was just asked to contribute to a book about universal design for learning that came out of being online. I have a second book contract because I've been online. My first book is something that, I mean, who would ever have thought I'd write a book on blogging? I don't even like to write.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I write articles and I write blogs for people, and Smart Tech just asked me to blog for them. And people are like, how do you do all this, and how does it happen to you? I'm like, well, I put myself out there, and people come to me.
And the frustrating thing
And you
about
have
that. Sorry,
Go ahead.
Theresa, you go.
Well, I was just saying, you have that passion too. You know, you have that, you like this, you've got this
Right.
every time. I don't know if you feel like when someone calls you or when somebody wants to interview you or somebody wants to do this, you just get that just,
Yes.
I don't know, just makes it all more worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Because it is fun and it is exciting. And, one of the things that I felt when I went to ISTE, I spend a lot of my time trying to convince other people to do these things. And all I hear is, I don't have the time, or it's too scary, I can't put my kids on there, it's too dangerous. And then I go to ISTE and I'm surrounded by people who understand exactly, why I do this. And that's why I like being interviewed too, because
it drove home for me that you've all no doubt seen that Steve Jobs' commencement speech that he gave at where I think it was Stanford, where he makes that comment about, you can only connect the dots looking backwards, you can't connect the dots looking forwards. And that's so true, because if you say to someone, okay, here's the reason why you should develop your PLN, why you should work collaboratively and meet people online and do these projects and whatnot, there's no clear, obvious path that says if you do this, you'll get that, and then if you do that, you'll get the next thing. You can only look backwards and go, I never would have been here had that not happened, had that not happened, had that not happened. It was because I did that. It's really interesting, and that's something that makes it so hard to explain to people, is because there is no forward-looking pathway. There's only a backward-looking pathway.
Right.
But I think people should be able to see, when my kids get this. My kids are always like, people from all over the world, because whenever we're talking about a place, I can always say, oh, I'll call this person and we'll talk about this. Or, I run the Global Awareness Club, and whenever something's going on in the world, we call in somebody from that place. The teachers see me do this. They see it happening, and they ask me, how do I know all these people? I'm like, well,
It just starts with each person. It really does.
Yeah.
For me, it's... for me, having a PLN has eased the isolation and the frustration, because, in my part of the world, I teach...
especially where you are, yeah.
I teach in... Yeah, exactly. I teach in a predominantly low socioeconomic area. What I do is completely alien for many people. I've only met one, maybe two people who are actually interested in experimenting. I hope to work with one of them next year. I went to the state IT conference, and it was just wonderful to actually meet someone who knows and understands what I do.
Yeah.
I now have contacts all over the world. I've got friends all over the world. We can work together. I haven't actually met most of them, but I'm not alone. And it's as a beginning teacher, although I'm technically coming towards the end of my graduate years, I still haven't had a class of my own, but which is frustrating.
Yeah. But when you do, mate, you are gonna be so well placed to be, to evolve into the right kind of teacher that those kids really need.
I feel now I can go anywhere I can go to the bush, I can go to the other side of the world, the other side of the country, but I've already got the network.
Yeah.
Network of contacts, people I work with, the relationships with Deb Frazier in America, Theresa. It's the relationships which you take with you.
Yep.
It's not tied to one school, one place, and when you leave, you lose it.
Very true.
Indeed.
Yep.
Um,
Love it.
I'm just looking at the list of stuff you guys have suggested talking about here, and there's some good topics. Do you want to talk about some of the tools, or do you want to not get down to tools level, or like, is that important?
Well,
I mean, you've mentioned Twitter, and I think Twitter has evolved into this amazing sort of tool for. It's like the glue that tends to hold
And
all this stuff
Skype.
together. Glue and Twitter and Skype. But you've listed things here like Edmodo and Facebook. Anyone want to talk about that?
I might pick up on that one.
Sure.
What we have in Global Classroom 2011-12 is I've set it up as a community. Because when we were starting this, we had 50 people, K to 12 teachers. And I made a decision then and there that I wasn't going to do all the work.
Good plan.
It was a good, yeah.
So it's set up so we've got a team of teachers in about 6-7 countries running different things. The whole purpose of Global Classroom is basically to connect teachers at the level where they're currently at. So we have a Skype group, which was created by Stefan Nielsen in Denmark, which has proved to be the most incredible. It's mainly instant messaging chat. But we have people on the Skype group who will not be on Twitter for many years to come, who are collaborating on Skype. That's how we found our friend in Nepal. There's a lady in Taiwan, lady in Bulgaria. Facebook, you can't find people on Twitter, but they'll be on Facebook 24/7.
Yeah.
So we have a Facebook group which is run by a lady named Karen in South Africa. Edmodo, that's Theresa and Tina Smith's bright idea. So we also have email lists, another of a certain person's bright idea.
Google, yep.
Google Apps.
Email lists. I think email lists get a bad rap. I still think they are amazingly powerful communities, email lists.
Oh, they are.
I'm a bit old-fashioned that way.
Like Oz teachers.
Exactly.
We've got the wiki. We've got Google spreadsheets with email addresses if people want to find an email address of someone in another country.
Where's all this tied together? This is on the wiki. This is all
via the wiki and the blog.
Okay. So if I go to the wiki here.
Well, I just joined the wiki, or I tried to. Someone has to let me in.
Yeah, I've been on holiday, so there's a long list of people who've joined the wiki.
I've just joined too.
That's great. How many do you think there is now, Michael?
Nearly 175 from
My
32
goodness.
countries.
That's great.
And this was just since September or August or something.
August, so 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'm going to be modifying the wiki a bit, so because a lot of what we do is sent out by email, but we've had a lot of confusion with that. People joining the wiki and not giving us their email address, so we're going to fiddle around with that, and so it makes it a bit easier.
Right.
Because email is one very quick way of getting to a lot of people very quickly.
Yeah.
And we also have Twitter, so. So I'll let Theresa talk about Edmodo because that's her idea.
Talk about Edmodo?
Edmodo.
Yeah, that's been proved to be amazing.
It really has. We just Tina and I created the Edmodo teacher or the Global Classroom teacher group in Edmodo, and then we also have I think 3 groups. So it's like K to 2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8 or something like that. Groups in Edmodo as well, and Tina runs the K to 3, I think it is, and she just puts this is the January topic, and then it's all discussion. So it is these little second, third, first graders that are coming into Edmodo, and they're discussing what January is like and where they live. So very simple. It takes one class period, if that, and then you can. It's asynchronous, but still you've got that communication, and and that connectivity, which I really like. And we share things in Edmodo as well. The teachers share things, ideas, and then we ask questions, and we have help there and it's been a great experience. And I've been at Edmodo probably a year now, so I'm new in everything, it seems like, but you just get into this groove and it just makes sense. I don't know how to explain it.
One of my buddies here in Sydney, Henrietta Miller, she's a teacher at Year 5 class, and she swears by Edmodo. She just loves it. And I think it seems to be one of those tools that once people latch onto, they just fall in love with it, and they just really, really like what it does. I keep hearing that from different people.
I use Edmodo with the kids. And in fact, this Reading Across the Globe project that I got hooked up to from someone in China, we used Edmodo for the kids to have discussions. They were comparing different places around the world, and and when we set up these little groups for the topics, and each teacher worked with a group, and it was really, it's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
I can actually put you in touch with a couple of teachers who'd be interested in talking to you about that. Because,
see, there we go.
A couple of teachers I know who are
Let me hook you up.
That's all it takes.
Exactly the same idea.
Well, while you're looking for things to hook people up to, I have 2 projects going on right now that I really would love participants for. One is called My Virtual USA .wikispaces.com, although it's turned out not to be Virtual USA because there were people who came to me and said, I want to be part of this, and I'm not in the USA. I was like, okay, I already named it, but sure. So that's something that we're going to be throughout the year comparing where we live to everywhere else, our region, our area, in geography, government, and economics. And I just started one with Brian called Point of View Writing Project, where you sign up and then you either partner up or we will partner you up, and you come up with a topic for the children to compare. So Brian and I are partnered, and what we're doing is he studies Mesopotamia and I study explorers. So we're going to be looking at the explorers that go to the Mesopotamia, to the Aztecs, and we're writing a book from 2 points of view, from the Aztec point of view of the first, and from the explorer point of view of the first encounter.
Wow.
And they're going to be partnered up to do this. So we would love to have other people come into this project. So
what grade are you looking?
What grade?
It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
Right now I have a fourth, and a 6th. I mean, we just sort of put it out there not too long ago, so not too many people have signed up.
You're more than welcome to put it on the wiki and the blog if you like.
Well, I have to be invited into the wiki first.
Yeah, come on, Michael.
Wait.
Get it together.
Oh, all right. I'll just process you now, shall I? I currently have 9 people, apparently.
Yeah. And 2 of them are here.
Joyce is trying to have a holiday here.
Now, Chris, do you mind if I just talk about one of the projects that I have in Global Classroom as well?
Sure, please do.
Okay. Just what...
I like that, yeah.
Sorry. No problem. I was just thinking, to get more people to your wiki as well. But I have the Hero project, and what? Yes, the Hero Voice Thread project, and the students. I had 6th grade do this, and they chose a hero, and they wrote 3 essential questions. One question they answered was, what is a hero? And then the other 2 is, okay, now what did this person do and how did this, affect other people? In order to be a hero, you have to, So I thought that was a great project. Just my students are on right now, so I'm hoping that we can get some more some more students, more heroes on our hero project, just to make it global. And we just have our American heroes right now, so it would be nice to have more global.
It would.
Effect.
Theresa, can you just make sure we have a link directly to that in the show notes?
Definitely.
So we can point people over there. That'd be great.
Okay.
You keep hearing this. All these things you guys talk about are these brilliantly simple ideas that are so powerful. And I think that's what jumps out at me about all this. Okay, so question for you, though. How do you make sure... Obviously, there's a fair bit of work in order to make this happen. There's a fair bit of work to make them powerful. How do you make sure that the bang for the buck you get is worth it? And by that I mean there are going to be teachers that go, oh, this looks like an interesting idea, but I can see I might put hours into this and at the end of the day not, quote, cover the curriculum. How do you make sure that there's a certain degree of rigour or, and I hate that word, but like there's a certain degree of, rigour beyond the fact that it's just interesting and engaging? Does that question make sense?
Yeah.
Very, very much so. I create most of my projects.
Yep.
For just that reason. But there have been times when I've joined projects and then changed them. Because I do need to fit them into my curriculum or make them more rigorous. Sometimes they're just, the ideas that people have to do projects, and people come to me a lot and say, I really want to do a project with you. And their ideas are just way too simplistic for my needs. So I say, that's great. And let's add this, and why don't we do that? And maybe we want to look at it this way. And
so where do you find the balance point then between when a kid says, which way do the toilets flush in the Southern Hemisphere? And you go, that's a good question. Let's find out. Let's get online. Let's see if we can find someone. Let's get them to take a photo and blah, blah, blah. And you go through that whole process, whereas the alternative point of view that's less pedagogically sound but way more efficient is to simply say, no, they don't, and move on. So where's the balancing point between how much time you're prepared to devote to a kid finding out an answer for themselves versus saying, no, let me just answer that for you so we can get other stuff done, if you know what I mean?
I just did I'm still doing a survey on global collaboration, and that's what one of my questions was. How are these projects infused in your curriculum? How do you do that? And one teacher just said, any way I can, wherever I can fit them. So I mean, I guess. Go ahead.
No, go finish. Sorry, I'm a New Yorker. I tend to cut people off. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Italian, and I do that too. No, I'm kidding. But
There's excuses.
losing train. But the when you have that passion, when you have that desire, when you know unconsciously or something that this is right. That the global collaboration, you'll fit it. You'll fit it in.
Right.
See, and I don't see it as fitting in. I see it as this is what I do. So the question that you asked about, like, why did I, get on Skype and call Chrissy and then have Alana do this whole project with me, why did I do that? It's because it's what I do.
Right.
It makes more sense for me to knock my walls down and have the kids know that there are other people out there that they can get help from. I mean, I've done simple things like when my kids wanted to do a project in frames, and I didn't know how to use it, I just sent out a tweet saying, can anyone come Skype in with a group of my kids to teach them this? And someone did. I had an opportunity last week, to join a Skype call with a scientist who studies giant squid. We're not doing anything with giant squid in our classroom.
Right.
It was a half an hour. And my kids were, and I actually got the whole fourth grade involved. They were amazed and amazing. For that half hour, it didn't matter that we were supposed to be doing math or writing or what those children learned is, well, they learned a lot about giant squid, but they also learned that there are people out there that when you have a question about something, that there are people you can go to.
Yeah, that's the real unstated learning, isn't it? Is that there is always an answer, and being connected can help you find it.
Right. I mean, I've set up projects before where, like, I had my kids doing a geography project. We were pretending that we were going to a new planet, and they had to figure out how we were going to settle there using resources. And basically, surprisingly enough, that planet looked exactly like the area that we live in New York. So it basically was to show them how Native Americans lived off the land and used resources in housing and shelter and transportation. And I set it up so that a friend of mine who teaches social studies, Paul Bogish, if you don't know him, he's a fabulous person to know. He teaches social studies in Connecticut, and I had his students, he's in high school, I had his students be the experts for my students. So when my kids had questions that needed to be answered, they went to him. We just Skyped them in.
Yeah.
And he's so cute because before they Skyped, they had to put on like a science lab coat because they were our scientists.
Right.
And then my kids would ask them questions about, well, what can you do with coal? If coal is, one of the resources, what can you do with it? Now, could they have gone online and researched that? Yeah, but it was so amazing to them that they could go to someone and get that answer. We've had musicians come in, and we've had authors Skype in, and scientists Skype in, and whatever they're interested in, whatever comes up in our classroom, it just starts a conversation.
Yeah, it's a great way to teach. It certainly is. I mean, I don't think anyone in this particular discussion would question any of that. I do sometimes wonder how we convince the great unwashed masses of the teaching community who have not yet discovered this, though, who still see it as a way of saying this is more work than I have time to do.
And curriculum really does tie things down. In the district that I'm in, because it is this very high achieving district, our curricular requirements are very, very high. And our test scores better be very, very high. And yet I still, my students do as well as or better than the other students on the same grade in our district because of the experience they have. If we're talking about a writing assignment, how much more motivating can it be to do a writing assignment where thousands of people are going to see your writing because you put it on a blog?
Yeah,
exactly.
As opposed to, let's tape it to the bulletin board now so that anyone who walks by in the hallway can see it. And it ups the ante for them. Like, okay, so we're doing writing, and I have to do. I mean, that whole point of view project came out of the fact that I have to teach point of view, and I have to teach exploration.
Yeah.
And so I said, why don't we do this?
That's the point that I think gets so often missed is when you suggest these things to some teachers, they will go, "Oh, that's a great idea. I'd love to do it. If I can get through the other stuff, I'll see if I can find some time at the end of the term or whatever."
Right.
It's kind of missing the idea. I think is this
that this is the stuff.
This is the work.
This is
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like we're playing, and I know that that's the idea that a lot of people have, that we play in our classroom. We do a lot of playing. And the reality is we're doing the same curriculum and the same work that everyone else is doing. We're just doing it with a lot of other people.
Sorry, Lisa, what year group is this? 4, you said?
Yes,
Grade
so
4?
that's 8, 9-year-olds.
Right. Do you think this sort of approach is just as valid as you get into the high school years, especially into the senior high school years? Or does
I
it
think
become
more so.
More so?
It might wake them up, judging by my high school experience.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I mean, I see what my daughter is doing. I have a daughter in high school, and I see the things she's doing, and I think, wouldn't it be cool to hook up with? I mean, last year she took a European history class, and not once did they contact anyone in Europe. Like,
Exactly,
why
yeah.
would you not do that?
I
Like
have that same thing with
It's
her.
frustrating for us.
Wow.
It's
Frustrating
there,
for you.
like-
My daughter goes to the school I teach at.
Oh.
Occasionally she brings home work and I look at it and she has to say, Dad, just no, don't call the school.
Well,
Exactly.
my daughter says that to me all the time. Because I'm always like, oh, let me tell you about this site. Let me tell you about that site. And can I bring it into your teacher? No, Mom, no. Just leave it alone.
Mum, just stay
It's
out.
nothing to do with you. This isn't your education. Or she'll have to do a project, and I suggest like an online tool to do the project. No, we're not doing that.
I was excited. My daughters are also in high school, and I just heard my freshman daughter just got on Edmodo. It was like, yay! So I was excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, I do have kids who leave my class and leave my school, go into the middle school and high school, and then I have those teachers contact me saying, so-and-so is insisting that I talk to you about blogging, or, wants me to talk to you about Skyping because they're doing a project, or is there any help you can give me with this? Because I'm like, yes, my kids are going to teach them. No one else does. The kids will.
The kids become ambassadors, really.
The kids.
They do. They do.
And I actually have my freshman daughter. She's a youth, I guess a youth board member on a website called KidLink. They're looking for more youth in the site as well, a global site. So that's very good. I think that's great for kids.
Yeah.
That's really neat. My daughter, I think, is like completely turned off from the internet because of me.
Well, yeah, they call me a geek.
Yeah.
And a nerd.
That's
And
cool.
and she
That's high
does,
school.
but she has actually like met people through AIM and through Facebook, in other countries, and she talks about them, and then when things happen in those countries, she worries about them, but she doesn't see that as
She isn't connected, huh?
being online.
Yeah.
When she was in middle school, all of her friends, like somehow on AIM, yeah, they were all on AIM at the time, connected with this other girl who lived in the area, but they didn't know her, and they talked to her, and they all decided one day they wanted to meet her. And my parent antenna goes up. Oh no, this is going to be like a 50-year-old man who, So I said, okay, but I'm going with you, and we'll all meet in the mall. And, so it's a public place, and I will be there. And turns out this girl came with her mother, who said the same thing. We're all going to meet together. And the mother and I spent some time together talking, and the kids got to meet each other for the first time, and they had so much fun together. And, it's like, it's part of who they are, but she doesn't even think about it as being online.
I think it's part of a curse of kids who have geek parents. My daughter and my son, when he was at school, they'd come home with projects, and I'd go, oh, you know what? You know what would be good for this? Dad, no, not everything needs to be solved with a computer. It's like,
right.
You're
well,
right,
my daughter
but,
tells me I'm not allowed to do that. Oh, don't tell me you're not allowed. Of course you'd be able to.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not allowed, you should be. Let me talk to them. No, stay out of it.
Well, I'm also the parent, and people talk to me about this all the time. I am the parent who my daughter and I text during the day. Mm-hmm. She knows when she can text me, when I'm on breaks, and but she's not supposed to have a phone.
Yeah.
And so,
at school.
Right. So everyone's like, aren't you sort of breaking the rules? I'm like, well, that shouldn't be a rule. So I'm not going to give her test answers. The other day she texted me asking me questions, and I said, "Are you taking a test right now? Because if you are, I'm not helping you." And she's like, "No, I'm in study hall, and I'm trying to get this information, and there are no computers for me to use."
My daughter will Google chat me during the day, and I'll go, "Aren't you in science right now? Shouldn't you be doing something else?" Anyway, that's what happens when you give them laptops, right?
Right, and my feeling is, you know what? I think they should have this technology, and I think they should be using it. And
all of that is available to them at home, right? So why are we so nervous about using it in school?
Well, and this is my big selling point. This is the way I feel, that nobody teaches them at home. They just go online and they do
it. Yeah,
but we have the opportunity to teach them. I can teach my students that when they are talking to somebody online, there's another person there. Mm-hmm. It's not just words. It's an actual human being with feelings. So you need to think about that before you put in, oh, that's a crappy idea and we shouldn't be doing that. No, you don't write that. You just hurt that person's feelings. So think about it. Yeah. We can teach them these things. We can monitor the chat rooms, and we can look at the cover it live messages before they go out, and
we have good teaching moments on it too.
Right. So then when they go and do it in real life, we should be teaching them about Facebook. Yeah. No, you can't put a picture of yourself drinking.
Yeah. It really, we talk about the online world and the offline world, but it's just the world. And,
right.
It is the world.
And it's just, different manifestations of the world, but really it's the same set of social skills, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's so amazing that you just said that, Chris, because I find myself talking about this all the time. When people say to me, but you have to do online etiquette first before you ever get them online, I'm like, but I teach them respect and responsibility and compassion and empathy. I teach them all that. So when we go online, it's not any different.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like, I manage a Digiteam project for the Flat Classroom project, and when they have that first initial, like when Edmodo or the Ning is open, it's like Chat City,
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like almost like they have to get it out of them.
Uh-huh.
Oh, absolutely.
First before they can just, and you have to teaching moment here and teaching moment there, but for the most part, you are right, Lisa. I mean, if you teach them normal, well, I don't know, in a face-to-face environment, then it should automatically, naturally carry over to the online world.
Yeah. And it really is just a matter of reminding them that's a human being you're talking to.
Right. It's just one quick aha.
Right.
Right. Very true.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a software program that you can put on your computers to monitor certain things called self-control. And, we don't use it. We actually like the old version of self-control, where you actually teach kids to just do the right thing because it's the right thing.
Because it is
scary. I mean, I've had situations before. I use Edmodo for book discussions in my classroom. And I had a group, and they were all my students. They were reading a book. In Edmodo, they were discussing the book, and one of the kids had put something in about a character, and everyone else in the group disagreed with him. So they started having this conversation. Now, they're all sitting together, but they're not allowed to talk because I'm doing reading groups, and they're supposed to be quiet and reading. And they start putting in things about why they disagree with him, and then they start making fun of him. Calling him names, and he's laughing, and he's calling them names, and they all thought this was great fun. And
while
there
they're
I
all
am
in the same room.
They're all in the same room. So they're teasing each other. But what I see is they're insulting each other.
Yeah.
So they don't quite get it.
Yeah.
So I call them all over, and I say, I'm going to read you this discussion, and you tell me what you think about it. And it was a lesson for them to understand that reading something doesn't always correspond to saying it. It's like we have to learn about sarcasm online. That sometimes we're sarcastic and people take it as real and they get insulted. And that's
And they
what
do
they
that
were
in face
doing.
to face too.
Right. But these kids knew that they were kidding around. So the boy that was being teased wasn't insulted because he knew that it was all in fun because they were facing each other.
Yeah.
But I said any outsider who comes in will think you are the meanest people in the world.
Yep.
So I deleted all of that. They were off Edmodo for a little while till they learned how to communicate again. But it was, you know, it was a really interesting lesson for them to understand that you can't speak that way online. You know, it might be okay, you know, in person to say, oh, that was a really dumb thing to do. Ha ha ha. Even though it's still not really nice to do, but it's better in person than online because you can see each other.
You know, for
And
a
you can see
conversation,
you're missing that. I'm sorry, Chris. You're missing the facial expressions and
Right.
and the body language. That's what you're missing online.
Right.
And so you have to interpret. You have to add that in.
Interpret. It is absolutely an interpretation. So you need to be very specific when you're talking online.
Yep. I was just going to make an observation. This is the 44th episode of this podcast I've recorded, and I would say that in nearly every case, we start off talking about some sort of issue that revolves around the use of technology, and it always comes down to the human relationships that are happening in a classroom between teacher and student, and basic fundamental things about actually being human.
Exactly.
It's just really interesting because, you know, this whole technology layer that we put on top of education is, I mean, I think it's really powerful. I love what it can do. But at the end of the day, it's all this stuff that you guys are talking about that actually make the big difference.
And that's the other reason why I don't think that this is something I do in addition.
Yeah.
That it's just what I do. Like this is it.
It becomes a natural part of your teaching.
Yes.
You know, it's hard, and you know, the first time I did a global project, the first time I used some tech tools, it was scary. But over time, it becomes more natural. You know, it's like Twitter didn't know what I was doing, but I found Clive Sir, and he basically taught me the ropes, and he's one of the closest friends I have on Twitter today. It all comes down to the relationships.
Oh, I would bet too, though, Michael, as a relief teacher, as a substitute teacher who, you know, spends less time with the kids than a teacher who has their own class, that the use of some of these tools helps you get to know the kids, if not better, then at least quicker. Would that be true?
Well, the only time I've ever been able to do it was for those 4 weeks with the grade sixes.
Right.
And in that time, they literally blew me away with what they knew and what they did. You know, they come from about 10 different countries, spoke 9 languages. There's one kid who was a really gifted kid, bored out of her brain in the class normally, but you know, she speaks about 5 different languages, went to an international school in Indonesia.
Yeah. And I'll bet you never would have found a lot of that stuff out had it not been for the walls that came down because of what these tools enabled.
It's because they were talking to young children around the world.
Yep.
It gave them an opportunity to share what they knew about their culture, their language.
Yep.
And if I hadn't done it, they would have been continued to have been bored out of their brain. I would have been bored, and I wouldn't have learnt anything.
Yeah.
And it's just had quite an impact on me personally, as well as some of the students in the class.
I'll bet.
You know, it's interesting. I think about like the first time I brought technology into the room. It was like these Skype calls where we would have my class sitting in front of the camera, the other class sitting in front of the camera, and we'd sort of just wave to each other.
Yep.
There was absolutely no purpose to the Skype call whatsoever. It was like, let's say hello, 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 hello.
But that's a good start, though. You know,
it is. And I actually just had a Skype call like that with somebody because she's just starting out in Skype and that's what she wanted to do. And I said, okay, that's great, but, you know, I'm going to ask some questions so that we can at least, you know, learn about each other. And what was so fascinating about that is the teacher, she's the technology person, the teacher in the class is a Native American. My kids didn't think Native Americans still existed today. and we're studying them now. And that was like a huge learning experience for them, that not only was the teacher Native American, many of the children were, there was a reservation nearby. And so now we have that connection. When we really delve into things with Native Americans, we're going to be Skyping back with them again. But
That's awesome.
I think about, like, I remember one of my earliest Skype calls was with a teacher who she was teaching English to a group of children in Germany and wanted them to practice their English. And so I said, okay, sure, why not? We'll Skype with you. And what it turned into, it didn't stop there. My kids decided they wanted to make a voice thread about how we say things in different languages. This voice thread, it's probably 6-7 years old now. People still add comments to it.
Wow.
What my students did is they created pages. How do you say? And then it was what they decided kids would want to know. Like, do you want to go to the playground to play? We started with how do you say hello? How do you say how are you? How do you say are you okay? I'm sorry. Are you feeling? There were all these different things. What do you like to eat? And then my class is very multicultural. So my class started by putting in, in Japanese, we say this, and in China, we say this, and in Hindu, we say this. And then all these other people from around the world put in theirs, how they say a certain thing on each page of the voice thread. And it all came from this really simple Skype call of, okay, practice your English and talk to us.
Yeah. Skype's such an amazing tool. I really hope Microsoft doesn't stuff it up. I'm really nervous that they own it. Anyway, hopefully it still keeps going. Guys, we've been talking for just over an hour, and I could keep going and talking about this stuff for the next hour, but it's probably it starts to exceed what people are willing to download.
And it's almost bedtime for me.
I bet it is. Yeah, thanks for staying up. Appreciate that, Lisa. Guys, thank you so much. I will wind it up here, but it's been a really interesting discussion, and I hope anyone who listens to this, if they have dabbled with this stuff, I hope it inspires them to go on and do a bit more. And if they haven't, I hope it really inspires them to give it a go, because I think the value of what you can get from working collaboratively and globally, or whatever you want to call it, it just seems so obvious. And hearing you three talk, the value of this stuff is it just jumps right out at you.
Yeah,
so.
You can't put a price on it, that's for sure.
Yeah, and when it comes to making the connections, this is where what we do is becoming more important. It's finding the people, either via email, Skype, Facebook, through our wiki. I found Deb Frazier at Frazier D via Twitter. Who would have thought, looking back all those months, that responding to that one tweet would result in what I do today?
Yeah.
And it's all for the students. It's all for the kids,
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
All right, well, on that note, we will wrap things up. I might just get you guys to just close off and just tell us where we can find you online in case anyone wants to connect with you. So if you have a blog or a Twitter or something, just let us know what it is. So, Michael, where can people find you?
I'm M Graffin on everything, so at M Graffin on Twitter, M Graffin on Skype. You can email me at globalclassroomorganisers@gmail.com.
Right.
That's on the show notes.
All right, thanks, mate, and thanks for kicking me in the butt and getting this podcast going.
It was somewhat unexpected, but it's
that's good. Theresa, where can people find you online?
Twitter is TDAllen5 and Skype the same, TDAllen5. And my blog is techcsrn.edublogs.org, sorry. And my school, well, I guess that's enough.
Yep, no worries.
They'll
People
find
can
me
find
there.
you from there. That's fantastic. Yep. Good on you. And
Yep.
Lisa?
I am L Parisi on Twitter and Lisa Parisi everywhere else.
Okay.
And my blog is lisaslingo.blogspot.com. That's my personal blog, and I actually have a link from there to my classroom blog. So
Fantastic. I might just get you guys to throw those links in the show notes as well, if you don't mind, on the Google Doc, and I'll make sure that goes online.
Yep,
Thanks so
no
much
worries.
for joining us. It's been a really interesting discussion, and let's hope it inspires a few people.
well,
Thanks,
thank you
Chris.
for having me.
No worries. Catch you guys.
I agree. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to Michael, Lisa and Theresa for joining us on this episode, and you can find this episode along with all the others over at virtualstaffroom.net and get the show notes and everything else over on that website. My name's Chris Betcher. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, catch you later.